I knew something was up when I saw those videos of Ric Flair training with Jay Lethal. Now we know why. It was announced this week that Ric Flair will be returning to the ring for the first time in over a decade. Ric Flair, back in the ring one last time. I heard that in 1994 and 2008. I guess we're running in 14-year cycles with these Flair retirements. Maybe he's got one more left in him in 2036. He'll be 87 years old by then. The only robe he'll be wearing to the ring is a hospital gown. Flair has not wrestled since the match he had with Sting on an episode of TNA Impact in 2011. As always, Flair played second fiddle to Hulk Hogan. It was to build towards the final match with Sting and Hogan at Bound for Glory. So they did Sting and Flair on TV to build to the pay-per-view match between Hogan and Sting. And it was sad to watch Flair back then. Now he's 11 years older than that. 73 years old. The man almost died a few years ago. He was in a coma for 10 days. But his son-in-law, Conrad Thompson, who also hosts Flair's new podcast, the one that he started after he fired Mark Madden from the last one, he's building his latest StarCast event around Ric Flair's last match. Flair made his wrestling debut 50 years ago this year, and now under the banner of Jim Crockett Promotions, brought back to life for one night only, Flair is going to wrestle his final match until the next one. So Conrad is piggybacking off SummerSlam weekend. SummerSlam is Saturday, July 30th in Nashville. This show is also in Nashville, this whole event. This whole StarCast event. Flair's last match, all of it is also in Nashville. It takes place the following night, July 31st, at the fairgrounds. It's going to be streamed live on Fight TV. The event will also include a Ric Flair roast and a stage show with members of the Four Horsemen together for the final time. They're basically telling you this is the last time you're going to see this collection of guys together in one place on one stage at the same time. Which is kind of morbid, but also probably very true. Ric Flair, Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard, Lex Luger, Barry Windham, and J.J. Dillon. All brought back together one last time. As far as the match is rumored to be a six-man tag with Flair teaming with FTR against the Rock and Roll Express, who were in the middle of their farewell tour this year, and a mystery partner that was rumored to be Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, which Steamboat confirmed during a virtual signing for highspots.com this week, which I watched live. I watched almost the full 3 hours that it lasted. I enjoy a lot of those virtual signings they do. When I happen to be around and I see, oh, they're live on Facebook, I'll usually open it up and watch it for a little bit. So I watch, Michael Bakikio, the owner of High Spots, at one point he says, well, we should probably talk about the elephant in the room, Ricky. And he gave Steamboat the platform to address all of the rumors. And he said that he was offered the match and that he gave it serious thought for about a week. Ultimately, though, he decided against it because he wanted people to remember him as he was when he had that last comeback match with Chris Jericho at Backlash in 2009. And they went out there at Backlash that year. They had a really good match. As the match wore on, you could see, Steamboat was showing his age a little bit. But boy, he hadn't wrestled in so long. And he was moving around in there. He and Jericho had a good match. And people were chanting, "You still got it," at him. And he just didn't want he didn't want to sully that. Even though physically he says he's doing well, he's feeling fine, he's in good health. I've seen him recently. I think he's been doing something on television with MLW. They brought him in. He says he just doesn't want to ruin that memory of what people saw him doing in the ring with Jericho back in 2009. And all of that sounds perfectly logical and acceptable, and Ricky himself is now well into his 60s, and you can understand him saying, you know what, I don't want to sully my legacy. I don't want people basically to look at me and think, oh my God, what is Ricky Steamboat doing back in the ring? He looks terrible. He's slow. He's old. He's got some pride. Conrad, though, in an interview with Wrestling Inc., said this about Steamboat's response, and this was odd that he would even, bring this up in this way, but this is what he said. He said, "There's no way for me to have that conversation with you and not be negative or hurtful or rude, and I'm not going to comment on it because I think a lot of Mr. Steamboat and hold him in high regard. I know what really happened, and he knows what really happened, and I am disappointed that he put a statement out before we had an opportunity to put a bow on things. But that's not the whole story, and what the whole story is nobody's business, I suppose. I appreciate his body of work very much, and I am always going to be a fan of his, but I am not going to get into a he said, she said mudslinging situation when it is someone that I know, like, and trust and respect a great deal. So we have had conversations, but ultimately that's not the match you're going to see. But I have never said what the match was going to be. So when people are saying, what's the match now? Well, what was it ever? There's a lot of hypotheticals. We could say hypothetically right now that next year's WrestleMania is The Rock against Roman Reigns. Everybody has said that hypothetically, but when has WWE announced that? When has The Rock said that? It is all just conjecture at this point. So that was a very weird thing for him to say. Not the last part. The last part makes sense. He has not announced anything. Even the six-man tag, that's just a rumor. That's a report. We don't know for sure. We don't even know if Tony Khan would let FTR do the match. We don't know. Six-man tag would be the way to go, because then you can at least hide Flair in a match like that and not have him do too much. So, he's right about that. It's all rumor and conjecture at this point. But I just thought that was such a weird thing for him to say. If he didn't want to turn this into a he said thing, because now that he said it, that's exactly what it's turned into. And it makes people think, well, what happened here? What, is Steamboat lying? And who knows? Because in the same breath he says, well, that's nobody's business and I'm not going to talk about it. So now all people are going to do is speculate and wonder why he would come out with a statement like that, instead of just coming out and saying, yeah, I heard what Steamboat said and I respect Ricky and we did have an interest in him, but, it didn't work out, or we're moving on. And now it's like, well, that's kind of an interesting answer to give in response to what Steamboat said. I didn't think what Steamboat said was out of line, unless he was flat out lying. Maybe it was a money issue, who knows? I didn't see any issue with what Steamboat said. But on people's concern for Flair stepping back into the ring, after all of his health issues, Flair said this on his podcast. I would say it's 70% positive, but for the 30% of people that are worried about me getting in the ring and wrestling again, first of all, I assure you that I have been in the ring a lot more than I've shown on social media. I have to get quicker, I have to get faster. I'm in better shape now because I train with Rob, John Cena's personal trainer, more than I ever have in my life in terms of cardio. I've never been a cosmetic wonder boy, so I am going to wear a shirt. But I can assure you that in 2.5 months, I will put on a clinic of what real wrestling should be about. I'm never going to be able to do a moonsault. God bless those that can. For the other people that don't follow social media to understand, you don't see how much money I make from Cameo. That alone I can live on for the rest of my life. I just made a commercial for CarShield. My life is good. I don't need the money. But baby, I do like the glory. I'm never going to walk away from it. If I have a chance to get myself over, I'm going to do it. That's what I've been doing my whole life. You don't understand. If I can crash in that airplane with the pilot killed and 2 guys paralyzed and get back on another plane and fly 6 months later, you could do anything. So I almost died 4 years ago. I got a pacemaker. I almost died of a blood clot. I had 4 heart operations in 7 weeks. I'm good to go. I will decide on when I want to go. So this is not about the money. This is about me doing what I've done my whole life. I watch wrestling every day because I love it and I respect the guys in it. Flair once said that he would either die in the ring or on top of a woman. If Conrad books Tessa Blanchard as his opponent, he could check them both off at the same time. Who better than the daughter of one of the Horsemen? It might be the only booking she can get at this point. Yeah, I know Chris Cruz, the former WCW announcer, he wrote a letter to the State Athletic Commission trying to get them to block the match from happening. He's on this crusade to contact different athletic commissions and basically, please block Ric Flair from being allowed to wrestle. I don't care. If the man wants to wrestle, let him wrestle. If it's a 6-man, again, he won't have to carry the load. Jerry Lawler's only a year younger than he is, and he's still wrestling almost every weekend, and he actually died. Ricky Morton is doing Canadian Destroyers at 65. Sting is doing balcony dives at 63. You know, it's like, this is what these guys do now. It's like 65 and 75. It's the new 45 when it comes to wrestlers. Sting doesn't look 63. He also hasn't had the kind of serious health issues that Flair has had. But if the man wants to go out there and tempt fate, and people want to buy a ticket to see it, then hey, more power to you. That's his choice. I just think the whole thing is sad.